The Pittsburgh Steelers find themselves in a deeper hole than anyone expected, and it's not just about bad numbers on a scoreboard. It's about a defense that's falling apart, physically and structurally. Head coach Mike Tomlin didn't sugarcoat anything in his latest press conference, confirming what many feared. The defense is seriously banged up. Star linebacker Alex Highsmith and promising young defender Isaiah Loudermilk are both out this weekend against the Patriots with high ankle sprains. And that's just the beginning. Tomlin went on to describe the status of safety Deshaun Elliott, defensive tackle Derek Harmon, and cornerback Joey Porter Jr. as questionable at best. Even beyond those names, veterans like Patrick Queen and Darius Slay are dealing with lingering issues that could limit them or keep them off the field entirely. This kind of injury report would be devastating in any context, but it hits even harder for a defense that was already struggling mightily before bodies started dropping. The Steelers haven't just looked shaky, they've looked historically bad. For the first time since 2002, this team has allowed 30 or more points in back-to-back games to start the season. The numbers are brutal: 32 points and nearly 400 yards surrendered to the Jets, followed by 31 points and just under 400 yards given up to the Seahawks. What makes it worse is that these weren't just isolated breakdowns or fluke plays. These were full games where opposing offenses had their way from start to finish. You'd expect some kind of pattern to emerge. Maybe the front line is collapsing, maybe the secondary is getting torched, but that's not it. The problems are everywhere. Up front, linebackers are getting swallowed at the line. In the back, corners and safeties are constantly late, out of position, or flat-footed. And when it's time to get off the field, when it's third and long, and you just need one stop, this defense has been folding. Right now, they're allowing opponents to convert on 46.4% of third downs. That's one of the worst rates in the entire NFL, and it's not just short yardage situations. Many of these are long third downs that a good defense should feast on. Instead, the Steelers are getting picked apart. And what might be the most maddening part of all of this is that every now and then they flash something. They show a little grit, a little pressure, a little burst of aggression that hints at what this group could be. You saw it in small stretches against Seattle. A couple of possessions where they dialed it up, looked hungry, swarmed to the ball. But then came the inevitable regression. That momentum disappears as fast as it came, and the other team is right back to marching down the field. So how does a unit that was supposed to be the backbone of this team, built around names like T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, fall apart so fast? Some will point fingers at Tomlin. Others will go after defensive coordinator Terrell Austin. Some fans are blaming individual players who just aren't living up to expectations. And the truth? It's probably all of the above. Let's talk about T.J. and Cam, the leaders of this defense. Are they doing enough? You can say what you want about contracts and expectations, but teams are scheming around them. You're seeing quarterbacks get the ball out fast, running backs bounce plays outside. Offenses simply refusing to let those two wreck games the way they're capable of. It's like a baseball team intentionally walking your best slugger every time he comes to the plate. Yeah, he's still great, but he can't swing if he's never getting pitched to. Meanwhile, younger guys who were expected to step up have been inconsistent at best. Players like Keanu Benton, Peyton Wilson, and Jalen Ramsey, for all their athletic upside, have been gashed repeatedly. Ramsey has made some splash plays, sure, but he's also giving up big completions in yardage. And Slay, as experienced as he is, hasn't looked like the Pro Bowler fans were hoping for. That's not to say it's all on the secondary, either. This is a full team collapse. Tomlin was asked what needs to change, and he gave the kind of answer you'd expect from a veteran coach under fire. We have to be better, we have to strategize better, we have to play better. Simple words, but hard to argue with. He also acknowledged the difficulty in game planning when you've got so many injuries and so many new faces rotating into the lineup. Still, that doesn't excuse the lack of fundamentals we're seeing week after week. Missed tackles, blown coverages, guys not shedding blocks, not pursuing with the kind of urgency that Steelers fans are used to. If you're Tomlin right now, there's no magic scheme that's going to fix this. You're not outsmarting anybody with this roster in its current state. You're not going to Foxborough this Sunday and dazzling the Patriots with brilliant X's and O's. What you can do is hit reset. Not panic, reset, strip it all down. Start with the basics. Blocking, tackling, pursuit, discipline, effort. Those are things that don't require exotic blitz packages or high-level game plans. That's about who wants it more. So maybe that's the move. Call out the position coaches. Make it clear that no job is safe. Challenge every player, from the Pro Bowl veterans to the undrafted rookies. You either bring in practice this week, or you don't get on the field Sunday. Show me who wants to hit, who wants to run through contact, who wants to plug a gap and drive a runner backward instead of catching him 5 yards downfield. Because right now, too many guys are just out there taking up space. This isn't the kind of stuff you fix with a pep talk or a film session. It's reps, it's drills. It's doing it over and over until it becomes second nature again. Somewhere along the way, this group forgot how to be nasty, how to be the kind of defense that punches first. And it's showing in every stat line. 18 plays of 10 or more yards allowed to Seattle. For plays of over 20 yards. That's not bad luck, that's bad defense. And it's not just defense, either. Special teams? Below average. Coverage units are letting guys through. Return game isn't scaring anybody. The offense? That's a whole separate conversation, but the foundation is missing on all 3 sides of the ball. And when the basics aren't there, it doesn't matter how talented your roster is or how smart your coordinator thinks he is. You lose games. You lose control. You lose fans. The craziest part of all this is that there were real expectations for this defense. Big ones. Names like Ramsey, Slay, Queen, they don't get brought in to rebuild. They were brought in to dominate. And in the summer, you heard all the noise. Top 5 defense. Top 3 even. People were hyping this group like it was going to be a reincarnation of the Steel Curtain. But those old-school defenses weren't built on hype. They were built on reps, on culture, on years of playing together. What the Steelers have right now is a collection of parts that don't fit, or at least haven't figured out how to work together yet. So the answer might not be complicated. It might just be hard. Take it all back to kindergarten. Everyone, even the stars, everyone gets the same treatment. Because when you're giving up this many points, this many yards, there are no untouchables. And if there's any silver lining to all this, it's that the schedule doesn't wait. You've got another game, another chance to show some fight. But if things keep going the way they've gone, if they keep missing tackles, blowing coverages, failing to win the line of scrimmage, then it won't matter who's injured or who's calling plays. It's going to be a long season. What's especially frustrating about where the Steelers are right now is that none of this should be a surprise. The red flags were there in the preseason. The cracks in the foundation were already starting to show during training camp. From a moment the team shifted practices to the south side, away from Latrobe and all the structure and pressure that come with it, something just felt different. Not necessarily lazy or unprofessional, just unsettled. Like the culture wasn't fully there. Like the accountability that used to define this team was starting to slip through the cracks. And maybe that's where it all starts. Culture. This franchise has always prided itself on having a standard, on being the kind of organization where certain things just aren't acceptable. But right now, it's hard to see that standard being upheld. You don't give up nearly 400 yards in back-to-back weeks if your culture is solid. You don't miss tackles in space, get beat over the top, fail to contain the edge over and over again if everyone in the building is dialed in. What we're seeing instead is a defense that looks unsure of itself. Guys second-guessing assignments, drifting out of position, playing reactive football instead of attacking. And you can talk about youth or new faces or unfamiliar schemes all you want, but at the core of it, this is a discipline problem. It's a problem of effort, angles, and execution. The fundamentals of defense. And those fundamentals, the ability to read and react, to take the right pursuit path, to shed a block and square up a ball carrier. That's what wins football games. That's what creates identity. That's what made the Dick LeBeau defenses so feared. Not just because they had Troy Polamalu bouncing around like a man possessed, or James Harrison collapsing offensive lines, but because every single guy out there knew exactly what he was doing. There was no guesswork. There was trust, top to bottom. Contrast that with what you're seeing now. Static alignments. Safeties who look like statues. No motion, no disguise, no attempt to confuse the quarterback. When a young quarterback walks up to the line and sees a defense showing exactly what it's going to do, that's a gift. That's not NFL football. That's handing them a roadmap. And you're seeing the results. Quarterbacks carving up the secondary with precision. Offenses extending drives that should have been dead after second down. Long runs popping right through the heart of the defense. It's not just coaching. It's not just players. It's the system itself. And right now, the system is broken. Not permanently, not beyond repair, but broken nonetheless. And it's going to take more than just motivational speeches or film study to fix it. It's going to take a complete reset. Tear it down to the studs. Build it back up from scratch. Take the egos out of the equation. Tell your positional coaches to go back to day one. Not because they don't know the game, but because they need to teach it differently. Teach it again. Simpler. Harder. Tougher. That's how you rebuild confidence. That's how you find out who really wants it. Because that's the thing. Talent alone is never enough. You can have a locker room full of former Pro Bowlers and draft day gems. But if they don't play with urgency, with pride, with grit, it's meaningless. It becomes empty names on a depth chart. And maybe that's what this team needs more than anything right now. Not a new scheme or a change in play calling. Just pride. Just toughness. Just someone who walks onto that field and says, "Not today." You think back to the great Steelers defenses, and what do you remember? It wasn't just the talent. It was the attitude. It was the fire in their eyes, the physicality, the trash talk, the dominance. It was a group of guys who imposed their will, not just with hits, but with presence. That's missing. That's the gap between this current unit and the ones fans still talk about. The older guys, the legends, they weren't just football players, they were forces of nature. This group, as it stands now, feels more like a collection of individuals than a unified machine. So what does Tomlin do with that? How do you take a fractured defense and make it whole again? You start by removing the excuses. Injuries? Fine. Every team deals with them. Young players? Welcome to the NFL. Lack of chemistry? That's what practice is for. Strip all that away. Put the blame where it belongs, on performance. If someone's not getting it done, sit them down. Find someone who will, even if it's a downgrade on paper. Because at least that guy might be hungry. At least he might chase the ball like his career depends on it. And yes, Tomlin is in a tough spot. He can't go out and sign a new secondary. He can't fix a dozen injuries overnight. But he can control preparation. He can set the tone. He can decide that this week, it's not about schemes or matchups or depth charts. It's about heart. He can decide that it's time to make this defense care again. And maybe that means doing some things that feel drastic. Maybe it means yanking a starter in practice and putting in a guy who's never played a snap. Maybe it means blowing up the weekly game plan and building a new one around the most basic football principles. Whatever it is, it needs to be different. Because what they've done so far has failed. There's still time to salvage this season. That's the part people forget. It's only 2 games. A lot of football left. But if this team wants to turn things around, it's going to start on defense. And not on a whiteboard, not in the film room, on the field. On first down, on third and short, in the red zone. In those moments where you either stand tall or get pushed around. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The rumor mill is swirling like never before around Heinz Field as whispers of locker room chaos have Pittsburgh Steelers fans on edge. According to sources close to the team, what started as a heated argument between TJ Watt and linebacker Patrick Queen nearly escalated into a full-blown physical confrontation with none other than head coach Mike Tomlin caught in the middle. Eyewitnesses claim that tensions boiled over during what was supposed to be a routine practice session. Watt, known for his fiery passion and relentless drive, reportedly confronted Queen over a defensive breakdown, voices rising and tempers flaring. Queen, no stranger to intensity himself, didn't back down, and soon the situation reportedly had other players holding their breath, fearing the exchange might turn violent. But the drama didn't stop there. Tomlin, ever the disciplinarian, is said to have stepped in to calm the situation, only to find himself the target of Watt and Queen's combined frustration. Sources suggest that at one point, The trio were mere inches from exchanging blows, prompting assistant coaches to physically separate the players and prevent what could have been a historic locker room meltdown. The Steelers organization has remained tight-lipped, issuing only a standard statement about team discussions and internal matters, but the rumor has ignited speculation among fans and analysts alike. Some insiders suggest that underlying frustrations with defensive performance this season are coming to a head, and that what in Queen's clashing personalities might signal deeper divisions within the squad. Others argue that this is just the passion and intensity that fuels elite athletes, and that Tomlin's leadership will ultimately turn this conflict into a rallying point for the team. Social media has exploded in response to the alleged incident, with memes, hot takes, and fan theories flooding Twitter. Pundits are debating whether this kind of confrontation can ever be productive, or if it foreshadows a rocky path ahead for Pittsburgh's defensive stars. As the Steelers prepare for their next matchup, all eyes will be on Watt, Queen, and Tomlin. Will they channel this tension into on-field dominance, or is this the beginning of an internal storm that could shake the franchise to its core? In a city that eats, sleeps, and breathes football, one thing is certain. Steelers Nation has never been this buzzing with anticipation and anxiety over what happens behind the locker room doors. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.